All right, good day, everyone. I have spent some time trying to mess with my microphone settings. So if anyone has any feedback, please let me know. I think it's way better now, but I guess we will find out. Yesterday I finished a little bit abruptly, so I just spent some time off stream to make this function right here, task pop. So it's doing something very similar to task push. It just reads a task from the circular buffer, from the queue, and then executes it, right? And then in the game, I am reading from this task, and then here I'm switching based on the message, and then I'm calling different things. Now, I was thinking maybe it's overkill to have both a message and a function pointer. So it probably makes sense to use either one or the other. But I'm actually leaning towards not having the message. Because as you can see here, it's just a huge switch statement. Here's a bunch of enums I have to add. And I think it's going to be pretty messy to support compared to just giving it a function pointer with arguments. And then obviously the arguments, this thing here, I put this in, can I go to the declaration? Yeah. I put this into the definitions simply because I need things to inherit from the threads. But at the same time, this thread task args needs to inherit from like everything. So I put that there forward declared so that this struct here can have like anything that I really need. And then I am in these functions, I rewrote them a little bit so that we are just taking the task args. So what I will be doing is probably I will start with deleting this message thing. And then I'm also thinking that right now I'm using a lot of function pointers that I'm setting right here. Now for some of them, I think it does make sense, like the assert, print, error, sleep. But when it comes to, I don't know, the arena, full screen toggles, like these kinds of things, I think it just makes sense to put them in a header that the game knows about. And then when it comes to the actual implementation, this can be OpenGL or it could be DirectX or something like this. And rather than have all these things here, we should just put in this task args when we need to call it. Because most of the things that we need to call from the OS is probably going to go on this queue. So let's begin. Oh, and one thing before I start. You cannot hear it, but I like to have some music in the background. Am I soft-spoken? Too soft-spoken? It's hitting the yellow and even the red. I think it's good. Yeah, let me know if I can improve anything. I can show you the properties. Oops. Filters, I mean. I have this noise suppression. So I had some white noise that was bothering me. So I added the noise suppression. Then I have an equalizer, noise gate with -50, 45, compressor, and a limiter. So yeah, let me know if I can improve that. I'm not an audio engineer, but I have ears, so I can tell when something is wrong. Anyway. So yeah, let's start with this threads, no more thread message. One problem in this file, but it's not showing me where. Here. Yeah, we don't want this message. I was adding that thread message on a whim because I was thinking I wanted the thread to run on the OS operating system context. And then I wouldn't need to do these function pointers. But I realized that the implementation can just be OS specific, and then the header with the declaration can be on the game. So and that works when you're having the args rather than having some struct that I don't want to know about in the game. So yeah, obviously the game. If we found a job, then we do fn. And one more thing. I don't want to add the state to every argument. Here, I don't want to add state to every single one. So I'm just going to define this a function to always have the state, even if it's unused. So now it's executing the function, which could be text create, or it could be graphics primitive create. And we are setting that when we're creating the message. So this is all gone. Oh, there's a, did I miss a, there should be another loop here. Oh. So yeah, we're looping through all the jobs that we can find. And when the queue is empty, we go ahead and draw. Now, would we time this so that if we run out of time, like let's say it takes more than 16 milliseconds and we abort, we could do that. But for the I don't think we're going to run into the issue where processing the jobs is going to be a huge issue. And if it is a huge issue, then I would rather deal with that issue than pretend it doesn't exist and just time out the loop. Yeah. So now obviously we need to fix those tasks. What is this? Thread message. Where's the thread message? I think the language server is just confused. Down here, what is this? Oh. Not there. What did I mess up? We init, decrement the services to boot. And then we enter an infinite loop, which goes like that. And then it's another infinite loop for the tasks. And then we draw. Okay. Now this null pointer should be text create. But task fn int aha. So the return, before I was using i32 because I'm doing the success value is 0, and then error can be other things. But I realized I also wanted to have a failure state that wasn't an error. So I don't know. We can put it back to text create to be 1 i32. And that's declared here. State union state void. Aha. And the next one, remove this. So we kind of need an out argument here. When we call this, we have created the mesh here. So it should be a pointer. Unimplemented TFL error. Oh, all right. Let's see if that crashes. Now it runs. And we are drawing every 100 milliseconds, roughly. I think if we go something more reasonable. Yeah. Now it still flashes sometimes. I think that's just how OpenGL works. Now, I was wondering, is there a better way to do this? Not assignable. Hmm. So I can do this. Why is it doing that? Okay. So at least that's better, I think. It's not optimal, but I don't know if there's a way to avoid it. Really. Anyway. So the problem now is that even though we are drawing, there's nothing here. There should be a button here with some text. So why is that not showing? We need to figure that out. So do we have anything for mesh draw? It's 0. I think I know the reason. We are having multiple mesh draw prefab latest. So this is a here we have mesh draw heap manager account. And I think what I'm doing here is I am writing the mesh draw stuff to one of them, and I'm using the other one to draw, but then I'm never swapping them over. Now, do we do that with a task? I would like, I have this prefab index, right? And in the game, actually, where am I calling this from? Update in main. I think I need to redesign this a lot and rethink it. So we don't have update anymore. That's gone. But we still need to do things here. The question is, do we want to have one thread for the window and a separate thread for the game? Let's keep them tied for now and just push this message in Windows to the game. And then we update the, delta T. This is kind of static actually right now because I'm not recording the time. And then we call game update. Undeclared. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not recording that at all. So let's think about it later. So we're calling game update. That goes here. So it's going through all of the physics of the game. It also handles the game state. And then we have prefab draw, but I don't think it's being called from anywhere right now. Can I run it, please? What does that mean? What do you mean, run it? Wait, what? Well, I mean, the game engine right now, it's like I'm in the middle of updating something. So like this is doing nothing. If you want to see the last stable update, you can go to my website. Where I need to press somewhere. Here we go. Okay. This is the last stable update from last week. But because I'm updating a bunch of stuff, I can't get it to this state right now because I'm literally working on the architecture. So all I'm doing here is I'm generating all of these asteroids are unique. They use the same texture, but the shape is unique. And all of them I'm generating randomly. And I'm generating them in an area of 1,000 by 1,000. And then I can, you know, fly around. You can't see this triangle is actually a tetrahedron, but you know, I don't have camera controls. So, you know, everything is that's the state. That's the nature of developing something from scratch, that you don't get anything for free. Everything you need to make yourself. But yeah, that's running in the browser right now. But yeah, like I said, I am literally updating some very fundamental things about the engine, so I can't really play it right now. Yeah, thanks, man. So where was I? Yes, we need to call this prefab draw. And game update should not be a bool. Was there a specific reason why this was void data? I think it's because of Emscripten. But yeah, while we're changing things, let's just deal with it later. Game updates. Oh. So we are doing this game UI draw. And what I'm actually going to do is at the end of that, this can be void star. And then we do this. Okay, so we update the game, we draw the prefabs, we draw the UI. Then lastly, we swap the mesh draw integer. And we're having the thread atomic ink. No. We read the mesh draw. I need to think about this because this is very complicated. So we have the index that the game is writing into, but I think I actually need to have the index that the graphics API is reading from. Make sense? So let's read the graphics index. So if I'm reading this, it means that this is currently occupied. And I can safely grab the next one. Wait. Yeah, let's not do this there. Hmm. So this is what we're trying to do. Right now we're having two mesh straw prefab manager arenas. You know, we have two memory arenas for this mesh straw struct. So I need one that the graphics API is currently using, and I need another one where I can draw or where I can write my current data. And then I need a third one. It's just like I need a way to see which one is currently in use by which process. So if we say this is graphics, this is game, this is free. Maybe what I need to do, maybe this is what I need to do. So at the beginning, all of them are 0. Then we come into the game. Right. Everything is 0 at the end, at the beginning. And if everything is 0, then graphics does nothing. Just it reads all three indexes and they're all 0. So it does nothing. Then the game comes in, sees that everything is 0. It grabs that and sets this one to 1. In this array. Graphics comes in, sees that nothing is ready, so it does nothing. The game finishes and grabs another buffer. And do we set this to 2? To show that this is done, ready? Maybe let's ignore graphics for now and just make a system where we are let's just do this. We come in, we grab this buffer, we write, when we're done, we write 1 to it. Then we update this to 1. We update this to 1 and set this to 2. And then the same thing, 2, 1, 2, 3. This like this, and then it goes over and over and over, right? So then what does the graphics do? It wants to take the last one that is available. So it reads these ones. It knows that it's currently working. The game is currently working on 1. So it grabs 2 and sets a 1 here in its own array. The next time the game comes here, it sees that this is set to 1, so it doesn't touch it, and it swaps these 2. Does that make sense? I feel like that just sounds like it's having race conditions. I need some kind of, I need a, okay, I think I can make this much simpler. Again, this entire process will be done in nanoseconds. So I can just have a volatile I32 by game. Okay, that's it. So we go back to the game. Implicit? What are you talking about? Did I forget to declare it? Okay. So we set this to 1, and that's just to tell the graphics API to like hold your horses, wait for a moment. I am working right now. And then of course, when we are done, we write 0. Yeah, makes sense. Now I want to read. And I don't want them to be different. I'm updating both of them, right? So we are looking at this graphics. And the reason why this is thread safe is because if the graphics thread would reach the point where it would like to have the next updates, it would just chill because of this. So we are reading the last one that, or the current or last one that the graphics was reading from. And then we do this wrapping. It is %, right? With the heap manager count. And then we say that our mesh draw game index No. This is what we're doing. So the logic here is we're reading the current array, the current memory that graphics is reading from, and then we're reading the current index that we were writing to. We advance this by 1, and if it happens that the index is the same as the one being worked on by graphics, we grab the next one. So I guess maybe we need to have this also. And let's make this like this, just so that we can have better names. Yeah. I think that would work. Now, obviously, we have to write graphics as well. One more thing. I'm just going to take the heap manager. And we can delete all of this camera. And I want this to be 3. Okay. So I'm just going to give it the camera. Hmm. No? Prefab, mesh draw, prefab. Yep. Yes. I think that makes sense. Now OpenGL is going to be scared. So here we have I32 latest index. The issue now is that I'm kind of I need to write one value based on another value being a certain thing. Hello, Ravi YouTube. So I can read this atomic, but the moment I do anything else, the next nanosecond, this might be updated by the game. And then anything I do is a race condition. Because what I would like to do, hello Gaming Empire. What I would like to do is update my graphics index only if this is not set. But I don't think there's an atomic for that. Yo, Dino. Bunch of people coming up at the same time. It's cool. You always thought about making your own game engine in C? Yeah. It's interesting if you like, how should I say it? If you like working close to the computer and using complex APIs, and if you really want to have control and know what's going on. Now, is it efficient? It's very time consuming, right? So it's not efficient, an efficient way of your time, unless you're trying to learn how things work and being able to have control and being able to fix them when things don't work. You've been here for a while? Okay, cool. So yeah, if you like engine development or program development in general, then I would recommend it. It's fun. It's a cool hobby, but it's also very niche. So yeah. Can you contribute to your work, to my work? You can contribute by helping me right now. you cannot push to my Git. I will not allow that. But you can help me right now because I'm having an issue. I'm wondering if this is possible without using mutexes. So in case you know anything about, in case you don't know anything about multi-threading in general, you have atomics and you have mutexes in general. So an atomic is just a single value. And then I can guarantee that this is updated before or after some other thread. Or like whoever gets to it first will always be able to update it. And there's no race condition. They can only update it one after the other. But with a mutex, you have a bunch of values in memory. And then you have the entire region and you lock it down. And then you say, no other thread can come in here and touch these values until I'm done updating them. So I was actually programming in a mutex here. And I was thinking to myself, do I really need them? Right? Because the issue with mutexes are, they are a little bit overkill most of the time. Whenever you can get away with using an atomic, you kind of want to do it. But I'm thinking this is just too complicated. At least I can't think of a way of doing this. Oh, thank you. I can't think of a way of doing this that is thread safe. Simply because I have two indexes that both need to be synchronized. Why am I using multi-threading? Because multi-threading makes everything better. If I'm multi-threading, I can have a physics loop at some interval. And this interval is not limited by the drawing rate. So let's say that I would have a single threaded application running at 60. Well, if drawing the game takes 5 milliseconds, then that leaves me 10 milliseconds to update the entire game or do anything without having stutters. And if there would ever be any issue, like for example, I need to load and process an asset. Like for example, you enter a new area and then you have like some character that needs to spawn. Well, if that's all on the same thread, then the game literally has to wait until that process is done. And then you get stutters. And sometimes that can result in micro stutters because, you know, just every time something is loading in, it causes a small spike. It can be a millisecond or two, but it will still like tank your frame rate, especially if you're having VSync on, because then you're not just losing the 1 millisecond, you're losing the entire, you know, next 16 milliseconds. So like 17 milliseconds. And the second reason is you don't need the game to update at 60. Like that's just a lot of extra work for nothing. Maybe you would still have to block the render thread to upload the data from the CPU. Well, I'm using OpenGL right now simply because I'm using WebGL for browser. So I can have an unlocked frame rate right now, even though nothing is being drawn because, I'm in the middle of making it. But even if you're having a locked frame rate at 60, that's still a benefit because you have the entire frame to draw you have the entire 60 milliseconds to upload the data to the GPU and have it being drawn on time. And the drawback is, of course, that you will always be a frame or two behind from the actual game. The physics loop of the game is going to be ahead. So that's the drawback. So you will lose, 10 milliseconds or 10, 50 milliseconds from that. But typically, especially for any normal application, that is not noticeable. Now, there are situations where you don't want to separate the two. So if you have a very, very tight platformer or action game, fighting game, things like this, where you don't actually have that many things. So you can imagine having a fighting game or having an action game, platformer, where just the stage collision or the button input, stage collision actions in the game, they are updated and uploaded on the CPU. And then you have a separate part of the CPU that is updating other buffers that is, for, backgrounds and things like this. So you have the very core gameplay is updated extremely fast and strictly. And then you have other buffers that can be like a couple frames delay. So you can still utilize multi-threading in those situations, but it just depends on the game. And especially if you're having an online game where you need to wait on ping anyway, then I think it's worth it most of the time. Anyway, I think we actually do need to use these mutexes. So we are having mutex here. So that mutex should be created outside when we initialize the threads. No? Thread create mutex. Okay. That's kind of a stupid name, actually. Let's mesh draw. And I guess we can also destroy it. Now, I forget how to use mutexes. So we create the mutex with this function. We don't really need any of the like security or name. Threads in other processes can open a handle to an existing name mutex by specifying its name. Okay, we don't need that. Any thread with a handle to a mutex object can use one of the wait function to request ownership of the mutex object. Yeah, so this is kind of why mutexes are having a lot of overhead, and they're sort of stalling the execution. Now, in our case, I don't think it will be an issue because again, we're just updating a couple of integers, so it will take nanoseconds. It will not be noticeable at all. But you can imagine that you're having a mutex, you close it, or you grab the mutex, and then you do an expensive operation. You load a file, and then any other thread that also needs to access this mutex, they are just stalling, so they all have to wait for the one thread. So we are using, well, there's release mutex, but how do I lock mutex? One of the wait functions. Signal object and wait enables the calling thread to atomically set the state of an object to signal a wait for the state of another. No. This is so many words for not saying a lot of things. Or it is saying a lot of things, but it's just not useful to me, right? So I forget, we lock the mutex with one function, and then the other ones are having this wait for the mutex. And you can set a timeout as well. Which is the locking one? Yes, release mutex. But how do I lock it? Create mutex. So if I do this and no one owns it, then I get it. And I like immediately return. But if someone else is handling it, if someone else is owning it, then I have to wait. And I have this timeout. So this is the thing that I need. Create, destroy. Mutex wait. And infinite, is that 0 or is it -1? Why won't you tell me? Okay, I have an alternative here. That's how you do it. It's -1. Okay. So I'm just going to say if timeout is equal to 0, then timeout is equal to infinite. Not infinity, but infinite. And we need a WinBase for that. And we have a couple of return values. The function has failed. Okay, so if it's a timeout, do we care about anything else? States. Abandoned. What does that mean? The specified object is a mutex object that was not released by the thread that owned the mutex object. Hold on. before the owning thread terminated. Aha, I see. So if the thread exits without releasing the mutex, then we get abandoned. But that's a bad thing. That should never happen. And this other one failed. That doesn't sound good. I guess hex value. I think I even have this. I think this does get last error in Windows. Check win error. Okay. Redo the entire base in code base in brainfuck? No. You know, did you guys see the drama about Odin? So if you go to Wikipedia and you search for Odin programming language. Oh, it's reinstated. This article has multiple issues. It lacks sufficient corresponding. Okay. So they deleted this and there's been a lot of drama about it. I don't use Wikipedia too much. But basically, people were arguing about if this should be deleted or not. Because, you know, no, Odin. So the funny thing is that if you go to Brainfuck, this has a Wikipedia article. No one is using this for anything. This is only, you know, it's a meme language essentially, and there's many other meme languages on Wikipedia. French language. Meme. Searching for mayor. No. Okay. Yeah. Google. Here we go. Here's the talk. Is it time to add the Odin programming language? So like this is a real language that has a lot of effort put into it. It's been around for like a decade almost, I think. And it has thousands of users, no, millions of users, thousands of programs. You know, it's pretty big. You go to GitHub and no, how do I search GitHub? I don't know. Do I have to log in? Anyway, if you go to GitHub and you look for like things written in Odin, there's actually a lot. But then there's a couple of Wikipedia editors that think that it's not serious enough of a programming language to have a Wikipedia page. Which is crazy when there's like so much code written in Odin. Like it's not as much as, Java or something, but it's still like pretty large. I think there was a graph for most common worldwide. Let's see. No, I don't want cookies. What? So I don't know how to find this because, okay, here's a list of the most used programming languages. JavaScript at the top. Well, C at 22%. But what I read was that Zig is having like half or 1/3 of the user base of Odin, but for some reason it's not showing up here. But Wikipedia, you go Zig. It has a page. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of weird things about programming languages that, people take it way too seriously. People identify with their programming language too much, maybe. Right. What was I doing? I was doing mutexes, and I wanted to know. I forget how I do my window error messages. Check win error. Here we go. No, really? Never mind. I can just assert here. It's fine. And we should never return here. So yeah. Timeout. Win error. So I think that is in milliseconds, right? Yes. So now this will be very, very easy. We still need them to be volatile. But all I need to do, really, is I go into game and I say, I own this mutex now. Wait, how do I'm missing something. So I can, does this lock the mutex? So maybe we should call this lock. So then we need to release it as well. And that was release mutex. That's it. Now this can fail, but it should never fail. I have never experienced it actually failing. I don't know why it's giving me all these things that are not mutexes. Like language server, please. Mesh draw update. Let's call it mutex. And we need to save it, of course. And we are waiting until we have access. Should we put the... Should be a pointer. So yeah, we lock and we unlock. So when we have this locked, we can do whatever we want inside. Yeah, this we don't need. Okay. So everything else works the same. And in OpenGL, we do the same thing. So mutex lock. And we also don't want to time out. And then what do we do here? We increment the graphics index. And I don't think, if I'm using a mutex, I don't really need to use the atomic functions. So yeah, we just take the graphics index is equal to the latest. Yeah, I think that works. And I don't really need to copy all this stuff. I was thinking about copying all these managers. So I put them, where is this? I think I put them somewhere. Anyway, the point is we don't really need to copy anything. All this stuff is, yeah, all this copying stuff is unnecessary. Where's this? Mesh draw UI manager. Huh? This doesn't make any sense to me anymore. All we really need to do is we get the camera at the index, which is this. And same for heap manager. Oh, cam. Actually, that's easier. And then MD manager and MD UI manager. Do we need this? No. Mutex is a pointer. Did you mean to use pointer? Yes, I did. Now, I don't think this locks it. We'll see if we... Oh, arena out of memory. That's interesting. 2 of them we get. Atomic weight 0 timeout. Well, I'm gonna have to come back. I need to take a short break, so I'll be back. I'll be back in a moment. So see you around. All right, we are back. Let's see what's going on here. Why are we running out of memory? Okay. That could be true. Let's just... increase. Wait, no. If it's 50, it should be enough. Where was this? Are these the same? They are the same. So I don't know why it was like that. Hopefully that fixes it. And then we have game update failed. How does it fail? Oh, that's just a typo. Okay. We still don't draw anything, but at least there's no crash. So it's updating 0 to 1. But I guess for some reason these are all empty. There's 2 in use, or 2 active. In camera. Are they being culled? Hold on. I think what's happening is that instead of writing it to the UI, I'm writing it to the prefab. Because right now there should be nothing in prefab. It should be all in the UI. And you can see here active count 0. So we're just putting them in the wrong array. Oh. $15.67. It is this one. So this graphics mesh is not initialized. Now, I think this happens because in the game, the drawing thread, the graphics thread, it comes here, it checks for tasks, and the main thread or the game thread hasn't actually assigned any tasks. So it just goes to draw. But there might be things in the queue when we are here. Graphics queue. No, there's nothing. Okay, so we have tasks and we're running them, and then we get here. But for some reason, this mesh doesn't have the thing. So that's a problem with the game thread. We're pushing this function. And we have set the mesh out to be, this is valid memory, but it's not set up. So let's save this pointer. And then later, when we try to draw it, that's the same mesh now. A30. Hmm? Where are you? Window loop. Is this a case of it wasn't set yet? Push this. We set the graphics mesh. And then we reach the point where we are setting this here. So actually, the game thread just continued without knowing if the graphics mesh was actually finished initializing yet. So there's one very simple way of solving this. And that's just to say if md.graphicsmesh is equal null pointer, then continue. I don't know if I like that solution, but it should work. Actually, no. Let's not do that. Let's do it in here instead. So mesh. When we do this, so that's the same thing, just we don't add it to the list. I think that's better. If we're going to have this solution, then it's better. Okay. Now, this is here for some reason. I don't know why. What is that flash? No. Maybe we will see it now as well. I guess not. I think what happens... oops. I think what's happening here is that there's one frame where all of the things are 0 because the last position was 0, and it's interpolating between 0 and the actual position. The solution to that would be to run it twice on the first frame before updating. Like that. No, it still does it. Let's see if we can catch it. $944. I can do breakpoint. Okay, well, the first one is always going to be like that. $284. 284. We can check here instead. All the prefabs, right? It does not match the checksum. $213, $213. Hello, Albatar. Now I'm curious because it should be that the previous translation, the first time we reach here, should be 0. $213. Oh, it was cold. I see. Can I teach you basic Python command? No, I know nothing about Python. So what is this? No worries. So we're having position 0. But this is the player, I think. 125 previous position, how was it minus 125? So this is a meteoroid. Translation 0. Previous is also 0. So this should already be working, is the thing. When I create the object, I give it a position. And then I do updates. Now there might be some kind of race condition here where I'm trying to draw the objects before, but that doesn't make any sense. I think I'm going to have to record what's going on. Capture rectangle win shift print. Can I do this while OBS is running? Wait. Did I mess it up? Oh, shift also. But I don't want to have any breakpoints. Okay. This is frame by frame. Oh, so there's one. And the next frame is this. And then back to the original one. So it looks like it's just the camera that is completely wrong. All the objects are fine. It's just the camera. Because you can see this is from the perspective 100 units behind the player. I think this camera is having the 0 initialized state. So let's see if we can capture that. So the camera is correctly set up. Then, yes, you can see here, it went from it's minus 20. Then here, the previous one was 100. So we're interpolating between those two camera states, I think. -100 -20. And that explains why the UI is not jumping like that. Now, where are we setting the camera translation? We're setting the camera to be behind the player. Here. But apparently we're never hitting this until we start the game. Mm-hmm. Mm. I guess I just need to add a bool somewhere. So in our update, whenever we are updating the state, flag recently changed. Whenever we do this, we also need to do that. Why is this? Changing to start menu. When do we change to gameplay? So yeah, whenever this is set in the here, right? And then we just set the camera position dot previous or what camera previous is equal to translation. So that's kind of just, that's just a quick fix, I think. But it should fix the issue. No, it did not. Why though? It's 100 and this is minus 20 and I'm updating it. And when we get to OpenGL, they are the same. Is the camera... I don't know. There's something I'm doing wrong, but I'm out of time for today. So thank you very much for watching. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. And I'll see you next time.